The Rangers come through with a legendary comeback, scoring 2 goals with the goalie pulled, and Artemi Panarin KOs the Islanders 6-5 in overtime. We break down a game that is in the running for the craziest Ranger win of all time.
You're Locked on the New York Rangers, your daily podcast on the New York Rangers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, Blue Shirts fans, to episode number 1008 of the Locked On New York Rangers podcast. I'm your host, John Chick. Just want to thank you guys, as always, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. And today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. And we are, of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So just a second ago, I said that I think this is in the running for the craziest Ranger win of all time. Not an easy game to recap, not easy to know where to start, but we're going to do our best here. And obviously, we got to hit the ground running because, just an epic win. And those aren't my words. That's what Peter Laviolette, that's the word he used to describe this win in the locker room after the game. The vibes were just immaculate among the Ranger players after this game happened. But again, craziest Ranger win of all time. I'm not going to say the greatest. I'm not going to say the most dominant, certainly, or even the best well played. The Rangers at times in this game were not very good at all. Obviously didn't have the kind of start that you would like in a game like this. They just didn't have the kind of jump that you would expect from a team that not only has won 6 in a row, not only is playing one of its biggest rivals in the Islanders, but is playing in this very unique, very cool environment outside. I forget what the attendance is. I have it written down somewhere here. I want to say it was around like 70,000 or so. Just a really cool, moment. Very cool. Just kind of moment in time for this Ranger team. Awesome environment. Fans were just losing their minds during this entire game. And, the sound of the fans really came through if you go on the Ranger social channels and watch some of the cameras that were down on the ice. ESPN, there's a lot we could say about them. I don't think that the way they have their cameras set up, however they do it, and I don't know a whole lot about the technical side of things there, but however they do it, they just don't really seem to capture the crowd noise. It was loud as hell in there when the Rangers got the game winner, and then when the ref announced that the goal would indeed stand for the Rangers in overtime. But we got to start by breaking down, again, just an incredible comeback, legendary comeback. The Rangers, twice in this game, score a goal with their goalie pulled. Obviously, something that you certainly do not see every day. So we're talking about that. We're also going to discuss the Ranger power play, which ends up scoring 3 times in this game. Hopefully, they're back on track. Also, certainly want to talk about Matt Rempe and his NHL debut here. Obviously, debuting in a very cool environment and getting into a fight literally 1 second into his NHL career. But again, to kind of break down just this epic comeback that the Rangers pulled off here. They're down 5-3. It's getting pretty late in the third period. They get on a power play after Miller draws a hooking call against Barzal. And I will say, I typically don't like it when coaches pull goalies kind of early. But in this spot right here, I think it actually made some sense. And I'm not just saying that because they won. So again, to set the stage here, goalie pulled on the power play, 6 minutes to go here. Obviously, there's still a lot of time left. But as far as the reasoning why to pull the goalie here and why I think it makes sense, you're down 2 goals, not 1. That's first and foremost. If you're down 1 goal here, I don't think you even think about pulling your goalie this early. So that makes it a little bit more of a risk worth taking, the fact that you're down 2. The other reason is the Rangers had a 4-on-3 advantage. And so pulling your goalie basically gives you a 5-on-3. Obviously, your net is open and, they can shoot the puck from anywhere on the rink and not have to worry about icing. But you've got a 5-on-3. And when you have a 5-on-3, it's just that much more dangerous. You're that much more in control, even more so than you would be during a 6-on-4, because you're 2 men up either way. But 5-on-3, obviously, there's more room to operate. And again, any team that's on a 5-on-3 power play really has their opponents by the you-know-what when that is the case. So obviously, they're passing the puck around. They're trying to set something up, getting a couple of chances. And then you've got Trocheck, passing up the boards, or rather carrying the puck up the boards, getting the puck over to Panarin. Panarin takes a shot from the blue line. Kreider's in front. He deflects it home, and it is 5-4 Rangers, or 5-4 Islanders with 4:08 to go in the game. The 4-on-3, which was sort of a 5-on-3 because of the goalie being pulled, that turned into a 5-on-4 right before this happened because there were matching minors and both those guys got out of the penalty box. But regardless, it's a power play goal for the Rangers, and now you've got some hope here. 5-4, once again, with 4:08 to go. I found this interesting, too, because we've talked about the Rangers' well-documented struggles and the shift that follows a goal, and we saw some of that in this game. The Islanders scored 2 goals, 14 seconds apart or wherever it was in the first period. I thought this was interesting, though. The Rangers go to their third line after this goal is scored. The all-important shift after a goal, they go to Cooley, Brodzinski, and Kakko. Obviously, those three have played very well together recently. I realize part of the reason for this might also be because the Ranger, power play personnel, they were on the ice for a long time there, and so you have to go to that next grouping of players. You're certainly not going to go with the fourth line in a spot like this, so they go to the third line. And again, I just thought that was interesting. I'll be curious to see if they do that going forward. But then they get the game tying goal. Basically, the Rangers are in the process of pulling Igor Shesterkin. He's heading toward the bench, and Lafreniere draws a tripping penalty with 2:28 to play in this game. Important to note that the Rangers had already used their timeout when they got off to just that wonderful start that they had in the first period there. They burned their timeout, so they couldn't use it here, to set anything up or talk strategy or even just give their top guys a little bit of a breather. So they had to just kind of wing it, basically. They didn't have their timeout. They do pull their goalie before the puck is dropped, so obviously they're on the power play here. And the Islanders, they came somewhat close to an empty net goal, shot it down the ice and went just a little bit wide. Then you had Kreider attempting a one-timer from the left circle. It was stopped with 1:44 to go. Sorokin juggled it, but he held on. And then what a shift, this next shift. We really got to break down this shift, every single detail here, the one that led to the Rangers tying the game. So first of all, you got Trocheck winning a faceoff. He gets a little bit of help from Mika. Mika was on his left wing, and the faceoff was on the left side of the rink. So Mika's against the boards there, and he's got to battle for this puck, and he does. And he kind of uses his body to shield the puck away from a defender, and he's able to get the puck back to Fox. Fox is immediately challenged by an Islander defender, so he's under duress as well. Pushes the puck back up to Mika Zibanejad. You get a Mika backhand pass to Panarin. Panarin takes a shot, is turned aside. It's behind the goal line, kind of getting toward the corner. Excellent play by Alexis Lafreniere here. The kind of thing that, he actually did end up getting an assist on this play, but something like this doesn't really show up in the box score. So Lafreniere, the puck's there, and obviously, the race is on. They're both trying to get to it, him and an Islander defender, and he lays out. Dives across the ice, extends his stick, and basically just pokes the puck back to Artemi Panarin. Panarin has the puck for just a second, and the defender goes toward him. Lafreniere gets back up. Panarin passes back to Lafreniere in the corner. Lafreniere sends a pass across the ice to Adam Fox. Fox is moving toward the net. I think Sorokin, it looked like, kind of came up in his crease, maybe anticipating the shot from Fox. But Fox, we know how well he sees the ice. We know how high the hockey IQ is, and that was on display here. He passes in deep to Mika. Mika's kind of sharp angle here, but I felt like he had it. You could tell he was going to wind back and take that one-timer, and that's exactly what he did, and he hammered it home. Top shelf. Rangers tie the game with 1:29 to go. And once again, after this goal was scored, the Rangers go sort of with a makeshift line. They go Goodrow, Vesey, and Kakko. I thought that was interesting as well. But bottom line, that sent the game into overtime. And we're going to talk about Panarin's overtime winner, the power play, whole bunch of other stuff as well. Everything that went into this game, everything that made it special, everything that will kind of be a lasting image of this game. Like I said, this episode is bursting at the seams. We got a lot to talk about. We can't waste a single second. So let's go ahead and let everybody know, first of all, before we get into all this other awesome stuff that the Rangers did here, that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by FanDuel. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and much, much more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right, we also definitely want to let everybody know that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app. All right, let's go ahead, keep everything rolling here. For the everydayers, definitely stick around in our next episode. Pretty sure we're going to do the best of Chris Drury. We're doing a 2-part review of Chris Drury during his tenure as Ranger general manager. We did the worst of Drury last week. We'll do the best of Drury sometime this week and likely in tomorrow's episode. But for right now, let's continue to bask in the afterglow of just this amazing, ridiculous at times win for the Rangers 6-5 over the hated New York Islanders. So Panarin in overtime. Let me kind of set the stage here. I want to ask the everydayers a question here. What have I been saying that the Rangers should be doing at the start of every overtime? Very simply, they should be putting Artemi Panarin on the ice. What they've been doing recently, pretty much all season, when this game, or any game really, any game for the Rangers reaches overtime, they've been going with the trio of Mika, Kreider, and Miller. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. All good players, all players that are well-suited for 3-on-3 overtime play. But to me, with the season Artemi Panarin is having, you can't afford to not have him out there. I think on top of that, you also want Trocheck out there. Mika's a good face-off guy. Trocheck is absolutely elite, and that opening face-off for overtime can, at times, be very, very critical. And honestly, I didn't even notice which defenseman was out there to start this overtime. I went back and tried to see it, and you honestly can't even tell. I want to say it was Fox. It was probably either him or Miller. But regardless, the Rangers actually lost the faceoff to start overtime here, Trocheck specifically, which that was kind of a fluky thing in this game as well, because the Rangers basically got killed on the faceoff circle. We'll just chalk it up to kind of a fluky night on the dock, because the Rangers have obviously been very good when it comes to faceoffs this year. But, the Islanders, they play the puck back, and Panarin, they have possession. Maybe they're a little too casual here, thinking they've got too much time. But Panarin kind of moves forward, starts to put some pressure on the Islanders to do something. They try to move the puck. Panarin deflects it. He ends up taking a shot. Then you have a defender coming over and sliding into the net, into the post, knocking the post off the moorings. And while this was happening, Panarin was shooting again, and it bounced, I want to say, off the defender, off the goalie, and into the net. By the time the puck crossed the goal line, the net was off the moorings. However, I had a good feeling that this would be a good goal. They counted it on the ice, and you never know. Anytime it goes to Toronto, you never know for sure. But the way I saw it, and it's kind of what the explanation I think was as well, is that the net being off the moorings did not affect anything. Whether that net moved or not, that puck was going over the goal line there. Nobody was stopping it. The net being dislodged did not affect the play in the slightest. And that being the case, I felt like this call would certainly stand and the Rangers would be the winners. And the Rangers thought so too, because they all poured onto the ice. They all mobbed Panarin. It was quite the scene there. It was awesome to see. Artemi Panarin just strengthening his case to be in the Hart Trophy conversation at the end of the season. And Artemi Panarin for Selke or We Riot. Panarin, he's never going to get a ton of credit for this. I do think he's a better defensive forward than people probably would imagine, especially non-Ranger fans. You do see him make some good defensive plays like this from time to time. And then after that, he makes a great defensive play, steals the puck, and the skills just take over. And Artemi Panarin coming through big for the Rangers here, giving them the win. And something that we kind of touched on a little bit earlier in the episode that I got to elaborate on now, the power play. The Rangers had been 1 for their last 22 on the power play. I want to say it was like 6 straight games without a power play goal. And they did score 1 power play goal in the most recent game against Montreal. They won that game. But this felt like the game where the power play came back to life. They were 1 for 22, and then they went 3 for 3. They ended up 3 for 5 on the power play in this game, which on paper is kind of surprising that a team can be in that much of a funk and then just go on a rampage. But when you think about it, it's not that surprising with the Rangers. They've got a lot of skill. They've got the personnel that they should be a successful team on the power play. The whole 1 for 22 thing, I think, again, that it's just kind of a reminder that any power play unit can scuffle at any time. And, teams can kind of get away from the things that they do well. I think with the Rangers, it's a case where they're trying to pass the puck into the net at times, but they got it together and end up scoring a trio of goals. It's also worth pointing out that the Islanders are dead last when it comes to penalty kill. They are at 70.7% on the PK, which is just atrocious. For any baseball fans, we got baseball starting up soon. Look at it this way. Teams that are on the power play against the Islanders are almost batting 300 when it comes to scoring a goal against the Islanders penalty kill. And obviously, hey, you know what? They took advantage of a weak unit, did the Rangers, and they'll be tested on Tuesday against the Stars because the Stars are 8th right now in penalty kill in the league at 82%. So that'll be a good test. I think that the Rangers have a successful night on the power play. They look dangerous, score 1 or 2 goals on the man advantage that I think we're all going to feel very, very good going forward. The one goal that the Rangers score on the power play that I'll acknowledge was a little bit lucky was the one where Panarin took the shot and Trocheck was right in front of him, and it deflected off of Trocheck and went into the net. That kind of got the Rangers going again. That cut the lead, I believe, to 4-2 at that point in the game. Easiest goal Trocheck will ever score. It's not even like he was trying to deflect it. He was just there, and it kind of grazed off of him, changed direction a little bit, wound up in the net. But you know what? Sometimes you need a lucky break like that, and the Rangers got it. And obviously from that point on, Ranger power play was very, very good and very, very clutch down the stretch in this game. So just awesome stuff all around. Nice to see the power play snap out of it. And as I mentioned in the past, I do think that the Rangers going through this power play funk in one way or another, bit of a blessing in disguise for this team. We've talked about how they can be really over-reliant on the power play, and there's times where it feels like they're kind of just waiting for the man advantage. Oh, you know, we'll score on the power play. It'll be all right. The fact that their power play has been anemic recently, and yet they just keep winning and winning and winning. Now 7 in a row. Very positive for this team. They had to find other ways to win. They've done that throughout this winning streak, and they certainly did that in this outdoor game here against the Islanders. What else do we want to get into here? So one thing I just want to kind of throw out there, cliche or not, the Rangers needed contributions from every single player in their lineup. Everybody had a hand in the Rangers winning this game. Obviously, 11 goals scored back and forth. A lot of guys are going to get on the score sheet, but, sooner or later, the Rangers eventually found that 5th gear. They didn't really have it for the first half of this game, but they eventually got going, and everybody helped in one way or another. And for an unsung hero for this game, I'm actually going to go with Igor Shesterkin. I realize it wasn't his best game, and, he had the shutout against Calgary, but that's sandwiched between giving up 3 goals to the Blackhawks and now 5 goals to the Islanders. Not exactly teams known for their offensive fireworks. So, there'll be a day where we talk about Igor. We'll see how he does in his next start. There'll be a day where we also nitpick, the Rangers' poor start to this game, the fact that they are terrible in the shift that follows a goal. That was on display again in this one. There'll be a time and a place for that, but it's just not in this episode, man. There were too many good things in this game. Down by 3 goals to your rival in this awesome setting, this outdoor game inside of a football stadium, coming back and winning it. Scoring 2 goals with your goalie pulled, the overtime heroics. It's time to enjoy this one. There's not going to be much negative talk, even though I will acknowledge there are certainly things that you could nitpick about what the Rangers did in this game. But again, I got Igor as the unsung hero. He ended up making 36 saves in this game. So, yeah, he gave up 5 goals, but he also made a lot of saves. And once he gave up a lot of goals, he gave up 4 goals in the first, period, and then like a minute or 2 into the second period. After that, he at least closed the door and allowed the Rangers to come back. I mean, if he gave up anything else more than he did, at that point, that's really a bad night. But by that same token, he had to make a couple of saves, and the Rangers were still down by 2 goals, down by 3 goals, down by 1 goal. Whatever the situation was, he at least finally clamped down at least a little bit and got them back into this game. And I also realized we didn't give an unsung hero in our last game. The Ranger win over, who was in the last one? Montreal. I'm going to give it to Quick in that one. He ended up giving up 4 goals in that one, but made some big saves when the Rangers were trailing and allowed them to come back. Moving on, I want to also give some props to the third line of Cooley, Brodzinski, and Kakko. They continue to gel. They continue to buzz every time they're on the ice. As far as points in this game, 1 assist for Kakko, 1 assist for Brodzinski. But more importantly, again, this is the best that I think any Ranger third line has looked this entire season. I mentioned this an episode or 2 ago, but it also seems like Kaapo Kakko is at his best when he's not out there with the superstar type players, when he's not out there with Panarin, Mika, or Kreider, which sounds ridiculous because you would think, most players are going to get elevated by playing with players like that. But Kakko is just more assertive and kind of takes control, I think, when he's out there with non-superstars. And, he's out there with a guy that, a career NHL, AHL swingman in Brodzinski. And no disrespect, this is such a cool story for Brodzinski, but that's the facts. I mean, he's played a lot of AHL games and has already gone well past his career high for most NHL games in a season. So that's awesome. But he's out there with Brodzinski, and and Brodzinski was waived earlier this season, had to clear waivers. So he's out there with Brodzinski, and he's out there with Cooley, the 21-year-old rookie, and he's excelling. This is the best hockey we've seen Kakko play all season by a landslide. And I also thought it was cool, once again, that they kind of went to that line a couple of times in some big spots in this game, and I think that's something that we should all keep our eye on going forward. But we're going to keep everything rolling in just a second here. I want to turn our attention to Matt Rempe making his NHL debut in about the coolest environment imaginable. Also going to talk a little bit about Matt Rempe's story, some of the things that happened after this game in the locker room. Just a really fun night if you're a Ranger fan, and I'm sure it was even better if you're an actual player on the New York Rangers. They looked like they really enjoyed themselves and really enjoyed this win. So we will do all that fun stuff in just a second. First, though, we definitely would like to let everyone know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by Game Time. You should not have to worry when you buy tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices show your total up front, so you know you're getting a great deal before you check out. Buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Matt Rempe making his NHL debut. Always a special moment, and again, just so cool that he could be in a situation like this. The game obviously being played outdoors, and that gives everybody a little bit more jump, I think. Or, I mean, I say that, but then again, I remember how the Rangers started this game, so maybe not. But I'm sure Rempe was tracked up for this game. Again, NHL debut at the age of 21, and I mentioned that I thought that it might be, I didn't know this for sure, but it has since been confirmed that Rempe making his debut in an outdoor game, that might be the first time that's ever happened in NHL history. And indeed, that is the case. That's going to be a heck of a trivia question in a few years. So remember this. Matt Rempe's the guy, when Sam, 5 or 6 years from now is asking about who did this, who made the outdoor debut in their first game, you guys will know that it's Matt Rempe. Also, though, a very emotional day for Matt Rempe, and I'm sure his entire family, because 6 years to the day before his debut, before this game happened on Sunday afternoon, Matt Rempe actually lost his father unexpectedly. They said during the TV broadcast that his father passed away while shoveling snow. So obviously just a tragic thing. That also means Matt Rempe's 21 years old right now. He's only 15 when that happened. So that's obviously just a devastating blow for him, the entire family. And, my heart goes out to anybody that's in a situation like that, because I just cannot even imagine something like that happening. With all that said, though, Rempe did have a debut to remember. I mean, any debut is a debut to remember. It's also worth noting that Rempe was the 6th Ranger all-time to have a fighting major in his NHL debut. None of the others are really, coming to mind right now for me. Yeah, I don't know. If I sat down and thought about it, maybe I could come up with 1 or 2. If you guys remember, though, off the top of your head, definitely let me know in the comment section. But yeah, Rempe got into a fight literally 1 second into his NHL career. He took on Matt Martin, and he won this fight. And after it was over, he was kind of pumping up the crowd, waving his arms to the crowd, trying to get them going a little bit. And Rempe said after the game that Matt Martin told him, I guess after this fight, maybe when they were both in the penalty box, that Martin had fought Zdeno Chara earlier in his career, and said that Rempe had him beat as far as reach is concerned. So Rempe, longer arms than Zdeno Chara. Rempe also mentioned after the game that Martin instigated the fight. And Rempe agreed to it because, hey, I mean, it's part of his game, right? I mean, he's a tower out there, big, strong kid. He's going to play an enforcer role and watch out for his teammates. And, we'll see what else he brings to the table too. But, that's going to be a big part of his game: size, toughness, physicality, and of course, dropping the gloves when the occasion calls for it. And Rempe said he was excited to do it because it would help him feel comfortable right away. And I think there's something to that. If that's part of your game, you probably want to get the first one out of the way. If you come up and you're known for offense and scoring prowess, I'm sure you'd like to get that first goal or that first point out of the way as well. Just something, take a hit, deliver a hit early in your first game. I think that can kind of, calm the butterflies a little bit, let you settle into the game. And in Rempe's case, again, literally 1 second, he's dropping the gloves and he's fighting Matt Martin. And Rempe also said about Martin, he said, I know he's a tough customer and I've got a lot of respect for him. I was like, hell yeah. That sounds like a post-game quote from a 21-year-old. I love that. That's awesome. So really cool that he did that. Really cool that he won that fight. And then after the game, obviously there's cameras back there, and the Rangers posted all of these videos on their socials. And Peter Laviolette was addressing the team, and he said, that was awesome, men. Remp, way to get us going tonight. And then he also went on to say, epic freaking win tonight. As a quick aside, Laviolette was fired up after this win. A lot of times, a team will win a game, and the coach, especially if the team doesn't necessarily play their best the entire game, which I think we can agree the Rangers did not. Obviously, it worked out in the end. But a lot of times, the coach, the game will end, and they'll kind of just, yeah, okay, good. And they'll kind of just, make their way to the locker room fairly quietly and kind of remain stoic while doing so. But Laviolette was feeling it. He was obviously feeling it in the locker room after this. And as we mentioned, he was winless in 4 games, I want to say, outdoors before this one. So I'm sure he's happy to finally get one here. Obviously, a cool moment for him. And as for Matt Rempe, getting back to him, his stats on the night, 5 penalty minutes. We already know that. And even plus minus 1 hit. Only got 4 minutes and 26 seconds of ice time, but that will go up as he continues on his NHL journey. A lot of that, I think, was dictated by, the game flow, the situation in the game. The Rangers were obviously trailing for almost this entire game and trailing by multiple goals for long stretches of this game. So the fourth line, their ice time is certainly going to take a hit in a situation like that. But we'll see, how much ice time he gets, assuming he's back out there on Tuesday against the Stars. And the most important stat of all for Matt Rempe, he ends up getting the Broadway hat. Kreider, he had the Broadway hat, from the last game. And he stood up and said to, the team and talking to Rempe, said, I know how much this day means for you and your family. High-fived him, gave him a hug. Rempe said it was a dream come true playing with you guys tonight. Just a really cool scene in the locker room after the game. And while we're talking about the fourth line, I also want to give some quick props to Barclay Goodrow, because there was something he did at the end of the first period. Nothing major, not going to show up on top 10 plays of the night or anything like that. But he saw his team was flat. They were down 3-1. They just were not playing well, not creating any scoring chances. And we're getting toward the end of the first period. The horn sounds, and he delivers a hit. It wasn't like a vicious or dirty hit or anything like that, but he hit his guy a little bit after the horn. We see guys do this every so often, and he knew what he was doing. He knew that the Islanders were going to take exception. He knew that a couple of guys were probably going to come after him, and they did. And we got a little scrum along the boards to end the first period here, heading into the first intermission. He did that very clearly, I think, because he saw that his team was flat as a pancake and was trying to wake them up and get them going a little bit. And that is something that Barclay Goodrow brings to the table. We can talk about the contract's too much, it's too long, why did the Rangers do that, et cetera, et cetera. But Barclay Goodrow, if nothing else, he's going to hold guys accountable. He's one of those guys that wears it on his sleeve every single game. You're not going to have to worry about effort when it comes to Barclay Goodrow. He still does bring that to the table, and it was nice to see him do that here. He also had a funny quote before this game, because they were asking him, the reporters, about playing with Edstrom and Rempe, and obviously, they're both giants, and I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but Goodrow basically said something like, yeah, I never thought I would be playing on a line where I'm the shortest guy by 5 inches, but that was indeed the case, obviously being flanked by Edstrom and Rempe for this game here, and that'll probably be the fourth line going forward, at least for the short term, and possibly for the long term as well. Never know what the Rangers are going to do at the deadline, but I'd have to imagine, Edstrom and Rempe right now, both sort of getting a look, both sort of getting an open tryout. Look, if they play great and they can go out there and bring some physicality, maybe even add a little bit of offense from time to time, if they seem to be an upgrade on some of the other guys, Bonino and Pitlick that they were throwing out there on the fourth line earlier this season, it's possible the Rangers say, okay, we're good. We don't need to add a fourth line type forward. they might play well, and the Rangers might do that anyway, add a fourth line type player at the deadline just to give themselves a little bit more depth. But I have no doubt right now that the two of them are enjoying something of an open tryout as it pertains to, possibly sticking in this lineup. And okay, how badly do we need a fourth line player? Can these guys hold it down, or do we need to bring in a veteran rental type player to, take on that role? I'm going to be very curious to see how that plays out in the next couple of weeks here before the deadline. Also, a stat I want to throw at you guys: the Rangers now have more outdoor wins than any other NHL team with 5. They are 5-0. That does not count a preseason loss to the Kings in 91. We talked about that in our last episode, but the Rangers have 5 outdoor wins. The Bruins have 4. The Caps have 3. So that's where things stand as of now. What else? Ryan Lindgren got injured in this game. He took a stick to the face. Sounds like he was bleeding pretty badly, left the ice. And, obviously we'll see what happens. I haven't really seen an update today, but we'll see if he's back out there against the Stars on Tuesday night. The other thing that I thought was really cool, the Rangers entrance, they entered the stadium accompanied by the FDNY and the NYPD. Always cool to see them do that. And, obviously, be part of the community. And, just a really neat thing. I'm sure everybody participating in that really enjoyed it. I also thought that I could very quickly at the end of today's episode here, conclude by ranking the Stadium Series jerseys, because obviously all these teams were wearing alternates, Rangers and Islanders on Sunday, as well as the Devils and Flyers on Saturday. I'm going to rank them in this order from best to worst. I'm going number 1 Rangers. Okay, I'm a little bit biased here, but those jerseys are sharp. I really like the white and the red and the blue, and obviously the NYR, going diagonal across the chest. I thought that was kind of a nice touch. It was different enough that it was cool, but it wasn't like completely ridiculous either, where they're like wearing colors that aren't even theirs and like going out there wearing green and yellow for some reason. I liked it. It was just different enough and just sharp enough that I thought they were cool jerseys. I'll go number 2, the Devils. That red and black I just think is a good color scheme for really any team in any sport at any level. Those look pretty cool. There was more black than red, which is kind of the opposite of how they usually do it. The Islanders one was just kind of weird. It just said Isles in big letters and just dark blue, and then the orange stripe going across. And the Flyers, I don't think anyone told them that they're allowed to do something a little bit different. It looked like they were just wearing their normal jerseys. So I'm going with them dead last. So Rangers, Devils, Islanders, Flyers in that order for the Stadium Series jerseys. And what else did I want to get to here? I just want to point out also that the Rangers star players really ended up showing up big time in this game. It's crazy because they did next to nothing in the first period, maybe even parts of the second period as well. But then this game ends, these clutch goals at the end, and it's all the Rangers star players coming through in the big spots. Panarin ends up with a goal and 2 assists. You got Trocheck out there with 2 goals and an assist. Trocheck, by the way, also had 9 hits in this game, so he was throwing his weight around a little bit. Trocheck was jacked up. Lafreniere has 2 assists, so that line had 8 points combined. Mika, the game-tying goal. Kreider, the goal that cut the lead down to 5-4 and gave the Rangers a chance to tie this game late, which they ultimately ended up doing. And then, of course, Adam Fox ends up with 2 assists. I swear, this guy has 2 assists in every game that he plays. It feels that way. I know that's obviously not the case, but I swear, every time I look at the box score, Adam Fox, another multi-point night. As far as, everything else, I mean, the production in general, overall, I thought it was good. I think, the NHL over the years, there's a lot of things you could critique this league for, and that's a whole nother conversation for another day. And Breadman, for sure, there's things that you can kind of go after him for. They've gotten this right for the most part over the years. I know the Lake Tahoe game didn't really work out the way they wanted. I think that was last year or the year before. But these outdoor games are cool. They do have kind of like a big fight feel to them. And I think the players really enjoy it. Obviously, the fans enjoy it. And man, I mean, they pack those stadiums. You have these games being played in a football stadium. And for everybody that says, oh, nobody cares about hockey, well, a lot of people seem like they cared about hockey over this weekend. And I do have the attendance written down here, 79,600 for this game between the Rangers and the Islanders. Yeah, nobody cares about hockey, I bet. Hey, that's the most exciting thing that's happened in that stadium in a long time. I don't know how many people watched the Giants and Jets this season, but yeah, that moment of Panarin winning that game, that topples everything else to happen as far as the Giants and Jets and anything that they did this season. So, Yeah, I mean, good stuff all around. Had a blast watching it. Was even cooler that it turned out to be an epic game and an epic win for the Rangers. And they're now 5-0 outdoors. And I say, hey, play every game outdoors. Just rent out a rink, somewhere in the New York area. Make away teams play there, at least until you lose. You got to at least keep going until you lose one game. Can they get to 10-0? Can they get to like 12-0? I don't know, but it'd be funny to see the Rangers try. But that will do it for today, guys. Once again, if you'd like to get in touch with this podcast, please send an email to lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Once again, that is lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Definitely give us a follow on Twitter as well, @LO_NY_Rangers. Once again, that's @LO_NY_Rangers. And definitely subscribe to the Locked On New York Rangers YouTube channel. Thanks again, guys. I will see you next time.